Hello, everyone. Welcome to your recorded Swan Pub Quiz with me, Joe Wicks. A bit of guidance before we start. Firstly, if you're doing it online and at home, hello. If you're not, why are you watching this? Your answers must be done by 9:45. Okay, 9:45 p.m. to have completed all the steps. That's the save, the ticks, the finish, all that. Okay, you can do all of it in your own time, so you can start whatever, whenever. I will be marking it as we go along, so I'll be marking it live. If you're not in by 9:45, you won't be eligible for prizes. Okay. Speaking of prizes, and I apologise for this. I know it's been free and so on, but obviously Paul, those of you who are in York, Paul sort of does have to somehow accumulate some money for prizes and so on. So we've set up a page through PayPal for everyone to donate to. Okay, if you wish, hopefully you will. Whatever you can afford, that would be ideal. That may apply to people in the pub as well. Just collecting money could be. Those coins could be a vector of disease, which we don't want. So I will. The link will be in the donations page. In the donation that will be in the description page. Okay. Of the quiz. I'm going to read the questions. I'm going to go quite quickly, but because this is uploaded, you're free to pause it whenever. Your music questions, as ever, are built into the answer sheet. Okay. I'll send everybody the wiki quiz link as normal. Hopefully you should have that already. As for announcing the results, I'll have to message you that, okay? The answers will become available when you finish, upon finishing the quiz, okay? I'll make those available. So you'll have to look at those yourselves. I'm really sorry, it's all I can do. It's not all I can do, but it's all I'm prepared to do. Okay, so I'm going to read the questions. After each one, just pause it, carry on. Remember, you'll have an hour and 45 minutes from this video going live. There's no pictures, I'm afraid, just because the people who turn up at the pub who might not be able to register with a device or writing their answers down, I will have to then mark those by hand. Complete nightmare, so not everyone will have access to the wiki quiz page, or may not, whatever. So I'll do as best as I can. Okay, so it'll go quite quickly. And hopefully everyone will be able to give me the answers in due time. I'll tell everyone who the winner is as we finish. So let's start. I'm going to start now with question number 1, which is on television. And if you're anything like me, ladies and gentlemen, if you're anything like me, and the early indications, mercifully, are that you are not, then you're a massive fan of the TV show The Voice. Of course, I went on The Voice and made the mistake of singing Don't Turn Around by Aswad. Terrible. Who, however, is the only person to have acted as a judge in every series of the TV series The Voice? Which wretched man is the only person to have acted as a judge in every series of the TV series The Voice? That's the UK version, obviously. I'll leave about 5 seconds in between each question. Question 2 is on sport, and the vague example of nominative determinism. Pierre Gasly won the Italian Grand Prix at the weekend. Driving for which team? They look new, but they're not really new. They sound new, but they're not really. Although their status has been somewhat elevated. They've rebadged it, Lynn. Pierre Gasly, who won the Italian Grand Prix at the weekend, was driving for which team? Question 3. Which confectionery product is this? This is from their Wikipedia entry. Redacted. A peanut butter candy manufactured by the Hershey Company. They are oblate spheroid in shape and covered in candy shells that are coloured yellow, orange or brown. They can be purchased in plastic packets, cardboard boxes or cup-shaped travel containers. The candy was introduced in 1978 and introduced to Canada in 1980, the fallow year of 1979. The then relatively new product became very popular with the 1982 release of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, in which the candy is featured. What sweets are they, ladies and gentlemen? Which confectionery products? I read it again. Redacted are a peanut butter candy manufactured by the Hershey Company. They are oblate spheroid in shape and covered in candy shells that are coloured yellow, orange or brown. They can be purchased in plastic packets, cardboard boxes or cup-shaped travel containers. The candy was introduced in 1978 and introduced to Canada in 1980. The then relatively new product became very popular with the 1982 release of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, in which the candy is featured. Question 4 is on films. Terry Camilleri in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Rod Steiger in Waterloo, and Ian Holm in Time Bandits have all portrayed which European historical figure? That's Terry Camilleri in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Rod Steiger in Waterloo, and Ian Holm in The Time Bandits have all portrayed which European historical figure in films? Question 5. What is the name? It's on literature side. What is the name of the King of Scotland at the start of the play Macbeth, who makes it a whole act into the play before being slain on the orders of Macbeth? The King of Scotland at the start of the play Macbeth, whose murder drives Macbeth and his wife into mental torture and eventually death. What's the name of that king? Question 6, ladies and gentlemen, is on sausages, and what could possibly better as the nights start drawing in, ladies and gentlemen, than a simple, delicious plate of rich beef sausages and chips. Not, ladies and gentlemen, putting the chip inside a pig. Bad idea. The Neuralink chip, of course, an attempt to simulate artificial intelligence, does not a nutritious meal make. Who made that mistake, ladies and gentlemen, of attempting to create a meal of rich beef sausages and chips by inserting a Neuralink chip into the head of a pig? Who was that, ladies and gentlemen? Question 7, one I give you now, is a list of 10 seemingly unconnected things which are, upon closer inspection, all linked by a single conjoining theme. All you need to do is tell me what that thing is. So what links? George Lehman or George Hudson, the TV programmes of Jerry Anderson, a 1968 single by the Rolling Stones, the Doctor's multifunctional tool, Jose Mourinho, twatting, Gianni Infantino, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, Morgan Island, South Carolina, falling off your bike, and finally, on television, Pete Waterman. What links those things, ladies and gentlemen? George Lehman or George Hudson, the TV programmes of Jerry Anderson, a 1968 single by the Rolling Stones, the Doctor's multifunctional tool, Jose Mourinho, twatting, Gianni Infantino, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, for example, Morgan Island, South Carolina, falling from your bike, and on television, Pete Waterman. What links those things? What could possibly link those things? Question 8. Gird your loins and fasten your safety belts and strap in for today's 2-digit A road question. All I'm going to do is describe the route of an A road. That's A and then 2 numbers. All you need to do is tell me which A road that is. We start, ladies and gentlemen, in Edinburgh. Before, the road suffers some indignity, heading north to Perth, as it becomes the M road of the same number. Before taking in Dundee, the famous Kingsway road system, a quick jaunt through Scottish Division 2, Forfar and Brechin, there's something called Cathro, across the Cowie Water, beyond Aberdeen, Peter Coulter, Miltimber, West Hill, the sort of places they'd be dancing in the streets of, come to Bill McLaren, Kingswells, past Aberdeen Airport, then the most depressed village in the entire UK, Blackdog, the outskirts of Peterhead, before binning it off for all eternity, its terminus and final resting place. Fraserburgh. Which A road is that, ladies and gentlemen? Edinburgh, Dundee, Forfar, Brechin, Cathro, across the Cowie Water, Aberdeen, Peter Coulter, Miltimber, West Hill, Kingswells, past Aberdeen Airport, Black Dog, around Peterhead and Fraserburgh. Which A road is that? Question 9 is on music, ladies and gentlemen. A quick joke. Quick joke. What do you get if you mix the Sphinx with a slug? The answer, Andrew Lloyd Webber. In 1994, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Lloyd Webber, under the pseudonym Dr. Spin, released a single that's based on music from which seminal video game? In 1994, Andrew Lloyd Webber, under the pseudonym Dr. Spin, released a single that was based on the music from which video game? Question 10 is on mathematics. Which 2 words refer to the top number and the bottom number in a fraction? So only 2 answers. The top number, the bottom number in a fraction. As a clue, they both end with the same 4 letters. So a word for the top number, a word for the top number and a word for the bottom number. Both end with the same 4 letters. What are they? Let's have a lot of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of fun this quiz. Question 11 is on TV, ladies and gentlemen. You may remember, early in the lockdown period, way back in the mists of time, the glorious example set by Dominic Cummings, of course, whose valuable eye test has certainly, maybe it's the government who are a bit more short-sighted than just Dominic Cummings. Which TV presenter was apparently censured and withdrawn from Newsnight duties for an apparent bias in her coverage of the Dominic Cummings affair? And which Newsnight presenter was censured and withdrawn and suspended, perhaps said she wasn't, probably was, for an apparent bias in her coverage of the Dominic Cummings affair? Question 12 is on sport and football, and as you might have heard, ladies and gentlemen, Liverpool won the 2019-2020 Asterisk Premier League last season, their first for 30 years, going back to 1990. Let's go back a further 30 years to 1960. Ladies and gentlemen, a current Premier League team won their most recent title and their second overall. Which team is that, ladies and gentlemen? Who won a current Premier League team who won the top division in 1960, their most recent triumph? Which team is that? Question 30 is on medical acronyms. If, like me, you're no stranger to a sporting injury, you may be aware of the RICE acronym. Rest, ice, compression, elevation. But there's also, ladies and gentlemen, a PRICE acronym. That's like rice, but with a P at the start. P-RICE. Price. For what does the P stand in this situation? So similar injuries, sporting injuries, the rest, ice, compression, elevation, but there's also a PRICE acronym for similar injuries which require an extra initial step. What does that P stand for in this context? Question 14 is on words. Which word of 4 letters can either refer to the rejection of somebody found unappealing by an intended target of affection, or to a bird with plumage of more than one colour, such as the avocet found on the logo of the RSPB, the actual worst village people single of all time? And don't you take me to the RSPB, I do know a cracking owl sanctuary. So, word of 4 letters that can either be a word used in the rejection of somebody found unappealing by an intended target of affection, or, more commonly, or certainly in a better manner, to a bird with a plumage of more than one colour, such as the avocet found on the logo of the RSPB. What is that word? One word, 4 letters. Question 15 is on games. A razorback, a snouter, the disastrous making bacon, and the sought-after, very rare, double-leaning jowler are all scoring moves in which game, which exists in both table and, giant inflatable format, also my new hip-hop name. A razorback, a snouter, making bacon, to be avoided, making bacon, and the double-leaning jowler, very much not to be avoided, are all scoring moves in which game, which exists in both table form and giant inflatable format. What is that game? Okay. The next 10 answers, so that's 16 to 25. It's, again, the YouGov poll. We're looking for popularity, sort of reputation, how they're thought of. And all I need is the 10 most popular clothing and footwear brands in the UK. Don't think too vaulty, don't think too lofty here. The 10 most popular clothing and footwear brands in the UK. So that's 16 to 25. Put 1 in each answer space, please. Yeah, so give yourself enough time. I'd recommend about 5 minutes for that. I'll go back to it. I'm going to carry straight on though, so you just pause it for that amount of time. Question 26 is on adverts. Which 4 words follow the following in a famous 1980s TV advert? Will it be chips or jacket spuds? Will it be salad or frozen peas? Will it be mushrooms? Fried onion rings? We'll have to wait and see. 4 words, ladies and gentlemen, one of them with an apostrophe. What follow those? Will it be chips or jacket spuds? Will it be salad or frozen peas? Will it be mushrooms? Fried onion rings? We'll have to wait and see. What 4 words follow that in a famous 1980s TV advert? Question 27 is on TV. What is the name of the TV classicist and Yorkshire gin enthusiast whose credentials marginally outweigh those of your quizmaster? Hello. Responsible for such TV series as Civilizations, Julius Caesar Revealed, that's a bit like Naked Attraction, and Pompeii, Life and Death in a Roman Town. The name of the TV classicist and Yorkshire gin enthusiast whose credentials perhaps put mine in the shadow. Responsible for such TV series as Civilizations, Julius Caesar Revealed, And Pompeii, life and death of a Roman town. What is that name? Question 28 is on politics. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, there was a general election which went brilliantly, and I hope, looking around, that everyone is very proud of themselves. Well done. During this election, the Conservative Party won a constituency in County Durham, which had been a Labour stronghold since the 1930s and which was represented by a Prime Minister. Which constituency is that? So during the 2019 general election, the Tories won a constituency in County Durham, which had been a Labour stronghold since the 1930s, and which had, relatively recently, been the constituency represented by the Prime Minister. Which constituency is that? Question 29 is on video games. Jill Valentine, ladies and gentlemen, who sounds pleasant but often finds herself in situations of extreme peril which a military veteran of her standing ought to avoid, is the protagonist of which video game series, which I would find very upsetting. It was first launched in 1996 and features a variety of unpleasant zombified foes and very, very dangerous situations. What's that game series? Jill Valentine, the protagonist of it, a military veteran who finds herself facing a plethora, a cavalcade of unpleasant foes and dangerous situations. The original, it's still going, the original was first launched in 1996 and it has sprawled across many media. What series is that? Question 30 is on sport, and the sport which is the best sport, which is cricket, although this is first-class cricket, which is the first and a half best sport. With an impressive 4,200 plus victims for Yorkshire and England, With an impressive 4,200 plus victims for Yorkshire and England, which man has taken the most records all time in first-class cricket? The most wickets ever taken in first-class cricket are by which man who represented Yorkshire and England, ladies and gentlemen? Question 31 is on TV. On which TV series, of which I have not seen a single second and which I do not intend on changing, do Esme Young and Patrick Grant act as judge, jury and executioner, although admittedly has yet to come to such extreme measures? A TV series which features Esme Young and Patrick Grant as the judges, ladies and gentlemen. What series is that? On the BBC. Question 32 is on literature and multimedia, actually the third book in the series. What is the name of the novel by Laura Ingalls Wilder, written in the 19th century, published in 1935, which gave rise to certainly one TV series of note, and several others, and films, and an anime, and cookbooks, bizarrely, and pretty much everything in between. Laura Ingalls Wilder is the third one in the series, but this is how the whole series is known, really. Published in 1935, it's a sort of 19th century document, really. Gives its name to several TV series, one very notably, and films, and an anime, which must be amazing, and some cookbooks, relatively famously. I've heard of them anyway. And pretty much everything in between. What is the name of that book and series? Question 33 is on geography. The village of Coton in the Elms, ladies and gentlemen. Manchester City's goalkeeper having a piss on a hike. The village of Coton in the Elms is the furthest from the sea on the island of Great Britain. In which county would you find the village of Coton in the Elms. It is the furthest from the sea, by some measures, by good measures. Lot of fun. By some measures, the furthest from the sea on the island of Great Britain. In which country would you find? In which county would you find it? County. Question 34 is on social media, and if you're... One of the things I find about recent years, certainly about where we are now, is that you never really hear anywhere near enough of gammons telling you what they reckon. That never happens anymore, does he? Never hear what a gammon reckons. But if you were somehow suffering from a dearth of that, you'd do well to jettison Twitter and take to, that's what you do, isn't it, with social media networks? You take to them. To which social media site set up in 2018 by something called John Matsey, which promises to deliver censorship-free content and, as a result, has attracted some of the worst humans known to man. It has a slightly relevant name derived from a French word. That's what it's known as. So the social media site, which claims to eliminate censorship, is popular with the far right, set up by John Matsey as an alternative to Twitter, which he feels were interfering too much, and has a name relevantly taken from a French word. What is the name of that social media network? Question 35 is on geography. The name of which geographical features, which, as everyone knows, are a type of dry terrain where softer sedimentary rocks and clay-rich soils have been extensively eroded by wind and water, often featuring canyons, ravines, gullies, and so on, give their name to a national park in South Dakota, a mountain range in California, a Bruce Springsteen song, an album by Halsey, and a 1973 film starring Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek, which is brilliant. It's the name of which geographical features, which are a type of dry terrain where softer sedimentary rocks and clay-rich soils have been extensively eroded by wind and water and feature canyons, ravines, gullies, and so on. It gives their name to a national park in South Dakota, USA, a mountain range in California, also USA, a Bruce Springsteen Born in the USA song, probably not on that album, don't think it is, an album by Halsey, and a 1973 film which is magnificent, starring Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. What word is that? It's an 8-letter word I'm looking for. Give you a clue, it features letters in the alphabet. I'm just going to check my phone now, this isn't professional. Question 36 is on pubs. Which pub name, of which there helpfully isn't one in York, takes its name from the personal emblem of King Richard II? That's William, Henry, Stephen, Henry, Richard, John, or Henry, Ed, Rich II, who was deposed by King Henry IV in 1399. So what pub name takes its name from the personal emblem of King Richard II, who was deposed by King Henry IV in 1399? It's a colour and a thing. That's a clue. Question 37 is on sport. A 13-year-old by the name of Bud was involved in a famous Premier League incident in 2013 and sadly died on Sunday at the age of 21. What is this incident? Or who was the then 13-year-old, now 21 and dead? So that's the 13-year-old by the name of Bud, who was involved in a famous Premier League-related incident in 2013 and passed away at the weekend at the ripe old age of 21. What is this incident? Or who is the 13-year-old? Either way, as long as you clearly know what it is. Question 38 is on TV. What was the name of the retired American policeman with his famous shock of grey hair who first appeared on the TV series Cops and later went on to front series, which stopped being real halfway through, American Detective, world's wildest police videos, world's craziest police chases, Stop You Bastards, and Transatlantic Nonce Quest. The name of the retired American policeman who has a shock of grey hair, who first appeared in the TV series Cops and later went on to front series such as American Detectives, World's Wildest Police Videos, World's Craziest Police Chases, Actual Bad Bastards, and yankeepedo.com. Who is that policeman? Former. Question 39 is something I wanted to ask about because it's funny, but it's really difficult to ask a question about, so sorry. This isn't really a question, but it is. The Greek soldier Promachus, ladies and gentlemen, who has just won a competition organised by Alexander the Great to honour his favourite medic, who has committed suicide by self-immolation rather than impede his general's progress on his eternal march. What was unusual about this 42-man competition organised by Alexander the Great to honour his favourite medic, whose honourable suicide allowed his army to make progress? It was won by the Greek soldier Promachus, ladies and gentlemen. I need, basically, the type of competition and what's unusual about it. And question 40 is the last question. Which word of 5 letters or more, that's one word, 5 letters or more, has appeared in the title of hit singles by all the following artists? And this is a mixed bunch. Doris Day, Queens of the Stone Age, Madonna, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, the Propellerheads, and Little Mix. One word, 5 letters or more appeared in the title of hit singles by Doris Day, Queens of the Stone Age, Madonna, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, Propellerheads, and Little Mix. One word, 5 letters or more. Okay, your music questions are on the answer sheet. Do be careful to put the artist and the song title in the right spaces, okay? I won't be able to tell you if you've done it wrong, so just be very careful. It does say artist and song title where you need to put them in, so that should be fine. Do that, and then your pointless questions. I'll read those in about 5 seconds, so you've got time to pause. So pointless questions, remember, you're only looking for rare answers, obscure answers, answers that none of the 100 friends I gave 100 seconds to name as many correct answers as these managed. So you only get a point if you get a pointless answer. There's a few in each category. I'm looking for the name of any writer to have won the Booker Prize, any sport in which Great Britain has won an Olympic medal of any colour. That's sport, not an event. So all the athletic events will be covered under athletics. Okay, do not put athletics. It is wrong. Or any EU city with more than 500,000 residents, according to Wikipedia. Okay? So any Booker Prize winning writer, any sport in which Great Britain has ever won an Olympic medal, summer and winter, and any EU city with more than 500,000 residents. Okay? Your tie-break question, another 5 seconds. The only way you could probably play something and have less fun than you are now is to play Monopoly, ladies and gentlemen. But how big in square feet is the world's largest ever Monopoly board? How big in square feet is the world's largest ever Monopoly board? Okay, that you'll get a point if you get it right. It will be used to break ties, otherwise, because it is a tie breaker. Lovely. When you've done that, when you've finished all your answers, again, click save, tick the 3 boxes and tick finish. I will post, the answers will be visible to yourselves within the quiz, okay? If not, I will post them all to you. I'm sure it will be fun. please, 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 don't forget just to give a little bit to the PayPal page that I will link to. Okay, really gratefully received, and it will go to prizes. If you're in York and you're drinking the Swan, those prizes will be in the form of beer vouchers. If not, I will think of something and I'll communicate with you directly. Okay? Thank you all for taking part. I hope some of you have enjoyed this, that this has proven worthwhile. And I'll hope to see you all next week. Goodbye.